Hey, it's Tommy Colletti. I'm here at the Music Zoo today with the Lerxst Limelight Alex Lifeson signature guitar. If you love 70s, late 70s, and early 80s Rush as much as I do, you're going to love this video. Stay tuned. So I'm a child of the 70s. And the first time that I heard Rush was actually at a friend's house, and we were in his basement, and he pulled out the 2112 record, and the face on him was basically like, I'm gonna blow your mind like it's never been blown before. And he put the needle onto the turntable, onto the record, and I started listening to the beginning overture of 2112 and was absolutely blown away. And I remember at the time, he would kind of like every once in a while, like kind of just like narrate things like, this is when Alex finds the guitar in this, in the cave, and he starts playing it and he's tuning it up. And I just remember as a kid being absolutely blown away by that record. And I became an instant Rush fan, and then of course went back to the early records. And at that time, he had a very specific sound, right? So he was using a 355, Gibson ES 355 at one point. He was using a Les Paul here and there. He had the double neck that he was using as well. And the sound was very specific. And then, like all Rush records, as they slowly over time had progressed and changed and they evolved as a band. And so did Alex as a guitar player, and so did the sounds. So the 2112 Hemispheres records, and then all of a sudden, like kind of transition into Permanent Waves and then Limelight, the guitar sound started evolving, and I was hearing it. I could hear the difference. There was more chorus, pedal, and the guitar sounded different. And what I had learned later on was that he was using basically a Strat that he had modified called the Hentor. He called it the Hentor Strat, and a Sportscaster. And it's basically this guitar, right? So they took what he had as that guitar and then modeled it into this. And the fine people at Godin are actually making this guitar, which makes all the sense in the world, because the Canadian band, the Canadian people, why not? The Godin, as a Canadian guitar company, makes beautiful guitars for us already. We love the Godin brand that they're making this guitar. So let's talk about the specs and how it changed, or how his sound changed over time and what actually happened. I believe that Alex had this Strat, and he was on the road with the Strat, and it had single coil pickups, and he played it sometimes, but not all the time. And he was like, what is it about this guitar that I'm just not bonding with? And what he found is that once he dumped a humbucking pickup into it, all of a sudden it made all the sense in the world, and it gave him the ability to use a trem arm. And from the reading that I had done from years and years ago, from like my cherished guitar player magazines with him, that he was starting to be influenced by Alan Holdsworth. And Alan Holdsworth was, through the years, played different guitars, but one of them was, a Strat style guitar with a trem, and he had more fluid playing. And I think that over time, Alex took a lot of that sensibilities from Alan Holdsworth and was starting to adapt it into those records a little bit. You hear it in the solo in Limelight, and you hear it in some of Moving Pictures. It's actually all over Moving Pictures, some of that influence that was going on. And this guitar is basically the sound of those records, the solo in Limelight and the chord parts, and Free Will on Permanent Waves. And it really is like a transition from the 355 and what was going on there. And now like a little chorus pedal entered into it just to make it what we know as that era of Rush. It sounds great. Let's talk about the specs a little bit. This is a bolt-on guitar, swamp ash body, maple neck, ebony fingerboard. These have stainless steel frets. This guitar happens to have a Floyd Rose, but also comes with a Vega trem, Mojo tone pickups, this humbucker and 2 single coils, as well as the 12-inch radius fingerboard. It's a wonderful guitar to play, feels great. So you have 2 options here with this guitar. You have the Floyd Rose option or the Vega trem. And the differences that we noticed between the 2 guitars is Floyd obviously have the ability to lock it, so you're never going to go out of tune, and you have the ability to dive bomb and do a little bit more aggressive playing. The Vega trem, maybe a little bit less of that, but it's a much smoother trem. So if you like a smooth action trem, like the Vega trem could be for you, you have to watch with the tuning a little bit, but it's probably closer to Alex's original guitar, because Alex's original guitar did not have the Floyd. So the choice is really yours. You could go either direction. They both sound wonderful. I love this guitar so much. I'm so happy that they did it, and Alex is a part of it again. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us at the Music Zoo. We'll see you next time.
Bye.